I'll be honest, I went through the whole movie four times without I know Jennifer Grey.
Well. Central City. My name is Scott Mintz. What did you think of a real band? Well, it's packed here. Very excited to moderate. My name is Scott Mintz, and I'm very excited to welcome to the stage here. Please welcome actor Jennifer Grey. Kieran will be here any second, but in the meantime, please welcome writer, director, actor, Jesse Eisenberg.
So Kieran is in the car, which is further than we all expected.
Packed ball tonight, so
He's driving this way, but he's in the car.
So Jesse, I want to ask, how did this movie come about from a trip you made about 20 years ago?
Oh yeah, thank you so much for doing this tonight, Scott. Thank you so much for being here. This is so cool. I see an Indiana shirt in the middle. I don't know if that's purposeful or a little fan fiction-y. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. It's such a treat to be here. I never imagined anybody would see it. Yeah, so as Scott mentioned, yeah, in 2008, my wife and I went to Poland. We took basically the same tour, but without the tour guide and without any annoying cousin rivalry, but like through these same cities, and wound up at this house. The house that the characters visit at the end of the movie is my family's house, and that they lived in up until 1939 when the war broke out, and they were killed actually, except some people who survived. And I always thought it'd be amazing to see this as like a travelogue in a movie. And once I hit upon these cousin relationship, it just seemed like this is the perfect thing, because you can have kind of this small relationship, these cousins trying to get back to something from their past against the backdrop of their cousins trying to get back to their ancestral past and struggling to find connection in kind of either area in the ways that they expected.
So Jennifer, what was your first take on the screenplay when you read it?
Hey!
And please welcome Emmy winner, Culken.
I was supposed to. Yeah. I've been awake for days.
Jennifer, yes.
As I was saying.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Blah, 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 blah. You said blah, 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 you done. My turn.
What's your first take on the screenplay?
That is perfect. It was perfect. I still am as in love with it now as I was the first time I read it. And when I listened to this guy talk, is it any wonder? I mean, it's crazy. His brain is just very special.
Very, very special.
It's crazy. Your brain is special. You're not.
Kieran,
You're nuts.
coming off.
Guess who else has a special brain?
This
Okay,
guy.
right. You're all nuts.
Kieran, what was it like to come off of Succession and go into something so quickly? Was it like an easy yes for you to take on this extremely demanding role?
Hi, by the way.
Hi, how are you?
No, we've met.
We met.
Yes.
We know you.
Yeah. How are you?
Good to see you.
Yeah, nuts, but it was an easy yes for probably, I don't know how much you've been yapping out here, but it was an amazing script, so it was like an easy right away, yeah. And it was just very tight, it was all right there, and I just wanted to play this guy, I just couldn't wait to get in there and jump in and do it, and it felt like I didn't need to do a lot of, prep. It was there, it was like, oh, I just can't wait. The only thing that like threw me was like the day before I saw on the schedule, like, oh, we gotta do the costume fitting. I was like, oh shit, we gotta pick clothes. That was the only thing that like, cause you had an idea of what Benji would wear, and I did, and Magda did. We all had 3 different ideas, and we ended up with none of them, and said it was this for some reason. And it just sort of came together that way, and I was like, I always hate having to like figure out the clothes. Can we just do the script? I don't wanna like think about that stuff. What does he wear? I don't know. I'm just rambling now. Someone else go.
Jesse, I want to ask, so, you had worked with Emma Stone as an actor back in 2009 on Zombieland. but this is now the second time that you worked with Emma Stone as a producer. So what makes Emma Stone a great producer, especially on a film like A Real Pain?
She is amazing at literally every aspect of production. So like, I could just give an example. So she's like the first person to read the script. And she had one note on the script, because what you saw is pretty much like the first draft, but there was one scene missing. And she had said, and it was the scene where they go on the train, where the guys get lost from the group. I fall asleep, and then we have to sneak back on the train and do that kind of funny
That was
thing.
the only scene I didn't like.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to take it up with America's Sweetheart. But basically, she was like, that scene wasn't in there, and she was like, I think the one thing the script is missing is just seeing them on their own again. If you can see, like, for them to get back to what, so we can feel the thing halfway through the tour that they used to have together, like doing something. And so, I had David fall asleep, and then they have to sneak back on, and Benji has this crazy plan. And so that's like the first thing a producer does. And then we had lots of meetings, because it was turned out by financing companies.
I've never seen or heard of a producer ever having that good an idea.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's really
No, she's
remarkable.
spectacular. She's great at, we've had meetings to, try to raise the money for the movie. She's great at that. She's on set for a little bit and was amazing there. And then, like, I could just speak to, like, how good she is with marketing, too. Like, so even this late in the game, as we're coming up with this poster and everything, and she's just, nitpicking details, and Searchlight, it's like the greatest independent film distribution company in the world. And they love her because she has a long relationship with them. So she kind of holds court during some of these marketing meetings, and it's just like watching a seasoned professional. She's truly just, brilliant at every aspect of filmmaking.
So Jennifer, I want to ask, like, when you all got together for the first time and, talked about the story, talked about the screenplay, talked about the characters, like what was that first meeting?
We didn't do any of that.
Okay.
Did we? Did I blank? Am I blacking out?
Yeah, not really.
I don't think we had any conversations about any of that. I think we just showed up.
How did that actually help with finding your character or finding the dynamic with the cast?
I just feel that when the script is so fully realized,
Yeah.
the work is done for you, and if the casting is appropriate and you cast the right people, I think there's this unconscious thing when people cast things that he knew without knowing me at all so much about my life that was absolutely in tandem with the character, or is that just, spirit? I don't know.
But there's also like the fact that we got to know each other in the same way that the characters were. Like, we shot almost chronologically in terms of, like, one of the first scenes we did was the meeting in the hotel lobby, and then the actual first thing I think we did was like a walk through the park, which is right after that, and then like the statue we kind of shot in order, so we were getting to know each other in character as we were getting to know each other.
Well, how much of that led to, like, a lot of improv, and what was some of the magic that we see that came out of that?
Kieran is an incredibly unusual performer. So, for example, like this scene, like at that monument, like, I had it kind of blocked out in my mind, and he didn't want to do any of that. And so I said, so like, what do you want to do? And he did what he wanted to do, and it was so great that we took the camera off the dolly and cut out our planned coverage, which is pretty specific coverage, because there's a lot of like little pieces in that scene where he's calling everybody up and they're all posing. I'm sure a lot of people here have been on film sets because we're in LA, and like, so there's like 1,000 pieces you have to get for a thing like that. It's like an action scene. And the best take we got was basically just following Kieran. We did 2 takes of this, and it's so brilliant that a lot of that footage is in here. And we picked up little things. But basically, when we followed Kieran, the scenes were really spirited. And so there are a few scenes that allowed for that kind of cinematography.
Yeah, Jennifer, I'm very curious, like, if you could speak to Jesse's strengths as a director, all the directors you've worked with. What was it like to work with Jesse as a director? It's his second movie, he's directing himself. It's shot on location, a lot of challenges there. So what was that like?
I feel that because I had so much respect for his brain and what he had created, that I just trusted that if he didn't say anything, I was doing okay. And he never made me feel little self-conscious. So I felt like, well, guess I'm doing okay. And I just was very happy to not be like that kind of puppy waiting for the treat, like, tell me. And he just never told me anything, so I just assumed that was all so awesome and cool. That's what I figured.
You would definitely hear. I mean, could we try that again, something like that? Kieran, I'm really curious, like, what informed your approach to playing Benji? Like, what helped you find the character, if you will?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't know. It was like, it made me laugh out loud, which scripts don't normally do. And I felt like when reading it, I understood these characters, their history together, and I just didn't want to think about it. I just wanted to go in there and play. I knew Jesse's work, and knowing that, like, okay, the script is tight and it's written by the guy who's going to direct it, so like he's got the right sensibility. You don't have to worry. There's no mystery about like the guy who's filming it might turn into something else. It's that. I know his voice, so I know that like getting in there, I kind of had an idea of how it would sort of go, the rhythm of it, and just try not to overthink it and just don't get in the fucking way of it, and just hope that it comes out the right way. And thankfully it did. It was like right away there was a nice rapport, and we were just like playing, and it seemed to be working. So I try not to like understand the guy more than he would understand himself. He's a guy that like wants to feel absolutely everything, and wants everything to be absolutely genuine and real, but only in this moment, so he doesn't need to think about why it is that. It just is that.
You just said, like, to get out of the way. You don't want to get in the way of what's being written or get in the way of the movie. And I think that's a really, really good way to point that out, because I feel like the dialogue, the dynamic between the characters just feels so genuine and authentic, and that you all just kind of elevate each other beyond, what was just written, and there's so much there. So when did you sort of feel that sort of chemistry, if you will, was really, really kicking in?
Yeah, right away. So we rehearsed like a day before we shot. That's when we all met each other. Like it was like literally one day before we shot, and we had like a 3-hour rehearsal planned. And we decided, just for the sake of like getting the actors to know each other and getting the camera up and moving, we decided to do that scene that we were just talking about at the monument, where he gets everybody to pose, and and he kind of wins over the group, especially at like my expense. And I wrote it so I can control it, but I chose that. I chose to embarrass myself out of humility. But basically, so we had a 3-hour rehearsal planned, and it was
It started to rain.
Did it start to rain?
It was raining, it started to rain, and you were in a panic.
Oh yeah.
That was crazy.
It's so funny, I was in a panic the day prior, and it was beautiful. But we did this scene, like, we did it once, and I was kind of like watching everybody, and it was just like so perfect. I saw the way like Kieran turned Jennifer into a child, and like had her running up, and basically like everybody just turned into a baby because he was so fun and charming. And so we rehearsed it once, and it just seemed like
I turned into what?
a cool child, a really cool child.
A baby?
Not a baby, I would say. Did a baby? I was thinking more 7 or 8. So a baby at heart, child at body. And but basically, it seemed like so perfect. I was thinking like, let's not do this ever again unless we're going to film it, because it was so alive.
Yeah.
Don't mess with him, man. He's way faster and way more clever.
No.
I think one of the most powerful scenes in the film is the scene where y'all go to the concentration camp, which was the first time that a movie was filmed at this particular place. So I just wondered, like, Jennifer, like, what was that day like? How did you decide how much you were going to actually talk in the scene, or just not say much and just let the imagery speak for itself? What was it like shooting on that day, or days, or however long you were there?
I mean, the way Jesse orchestrated every moment of it was very, very unusual, in the sense that he was very spare, and he just allowed us to not pander and not ask for anything, and to just allow the space to be seen by us, and therefore by the audience. And his lack of artifice and lack of contrivance shyness and lack of trying to get a feeling from anyone was, I think, the most powerful choice. And for me, it was just, the presence of the pain in that space is something that you can't describe. You just experience it, and it was one of the weirdest and most, it was just strange. It was almost like having something come up from, like, the smell and the feeling of the place is like nothing of this world to me.
Well, the feeling of it is just, it's there when you're watching the film. Kieran, what was it like for you to film on the days that you were there?
I mean, I sort of got to experience it in real time that the character was. I mean, just the way that, Jesse could speak more to how he approached doing it, but the way it was written in the script was the group walks into a room, they see this, they walk to the next room. There was no like scenes. It would have felt weird if we were in there doing scene work or things like that. There were marks on the ground, and I had to stand at a T mark, and there's lighting and stuff like that. There wasn't that. It was very practical setups. We would walk in a room, look at it, sometimes a second take for a technical reason, and just move on. So what was shot was sort of how we got to experience it.
What did inform your approach to filming that day, that scene?
Yes, you're talking about the scene at the concentration camp. I just remember when I got to it in the script, I knew we were going to go there like in the story, but when I got to it in the script, I just suddenly got like cold feet, because it's such a weird thing to put in a movie script, like in the font and all that. Like, it just seems so cheesy to take something like that and turn it into like a movie. So I remember just thinking, like, I have to write this in a certain way. So I was just saying, like, basically the music cuts out and the characters enter this room, they leave this room, characters enter this room, they leave this room. As Jennifer said, there's like no artifice, and Kieran said no scene work. It's not like the kind of thing where, with a scene that takes place at a concentration camp, like all of the drama is there in the simple imagery, and to like add drama or score would be, I don't know, I think undermining actually the power that it just has. So you just take those shots and then put the people that you know in front of those shots, and it does the work for you. To push in on them at a moment seems silly.
But I feel like that imagery that you're talking about is evident throughout the film. One of the things I love about it is just how, while you're just doing this tour of a poem, you're finding like the history sort of tucked into like the modern day infrastructures. It was really, really affected by that. But also, I gotta say, it's your second feature as a director. You wrote it, you're acting in it. Was it like hard to wear all those hats, or do you feel like wearing those hats was like the only way you could really make the film?
Oh yeah, no, thanks for asking that. I think actually like there was something probably easier paradoxically about like doing all this stuff, because I think it just I didn't have a moment to like settle. And I think, so I think that was easy. Like, I think just not having a moment to like second guess everything, I think it would have made me crazy if we had more time. It was a really quick shoot. It was like, 25 days in Poland, and then we were on airplanes and trains and airports and big cities, small cities, center of cities, monuments, etc. It was a really ambitious shoot, and so we just never had like time to kind of like second guess everything. And so I wasn't even really watching like playback. Normally you would go put the headphones on and watch the scenes after you did them, but there was not even like really time for that. So it was just like trying to kind of imagine what the scenes looked like, relying on people off camera, like my producer, cinematographer, to make sure that it was looking okay, and then just moving on and hoping it worked. And one thing I did in my first movie that was a mistake, which was just not get a lot of footage. We were shooting on 60mm film, and it was more expensive. We had like a cap of film per week or whatever. And with this, I just wanted to shoot digital so we can have 2 cameras going at all times. And so I just made sure I had enough coverage, especially for a movie like this with an ensemble and a landscape. You want to make sure you have enough shots. And so there were shots that like I never would have thought I would have used, but they became so. Oh, I'm so sorry. Hello. That's probably for my best interest. The guy is up there. He's like, oh fuck, he's on the second camera thing. All right. Turn it on. Basically, but we ended up using. Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna take that as a great hint.
I just want to one more question. So, Kieran, I'm just curious. Like, what do you think happens to Benji? Like he's sitting there, and the hole's on him, and it's a great hole. What happened? What do you think happens to Benji after this?
Yup. I guess you got one more question left. That's it. I sort of have my idea, but I like to keep that up in the old thingy thing. In my noggin. Nice shirt, by the way. Cool one. Yeah, whatever you think. That's cool.
Okay, that's
Last
cool.
question.
I like that.
Yeah.
You know, leave it up to, you know,
Sure.
leave it,
Yeah.
open to interpretation. Listen, this movie premiered at the Sundance Film Festival along with Sasquatch Sunset.
Yeah. Thank you.
But it won the screenwriting award at the Sundance Film Festival. Boy, did this movie deserve that screenwriting award. How proud are you?
Oh, I'm proud of all the things that I've made that most people don't like. And this is like a weird one where I like it and other people like it. And I'm sure the next several are going to be ones just for me.
So two things as we wrap it up here. One thing, if you could stay seated while we exit, that would really help us out a lot because we got to go right to another Q&A.
Right.
Second, this is really, really important. So now that you've seen this movie on the big screen, which is exactly where you need to see a movie like this, you got to spread the word. Movies in theaters now, so go on, spread the word, social media, go on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. If you want to use X, knock yourself out. Please spread the word about A Real Pain, and thank you very, very much for being here.
Thank you.
After the concentration camp where he's just on the train crying. What is your shirt? Let me see. I didn't even, oh.
It's got all the siblings' name on it and
Got
cousin
it.
Greg.
Got it.
How cute is it?
I've still never seen Succession.